Imagine it's 1912. The air is icy, and the world's largest ship cuts through the Atlantic waters like a king of the seas. But suddenly, the tragedy everyone expected doesn't happen. What if the Titanic hadn't sunk? No iceberg, no chaos, just a smooth voyage to New York with passengers cheering and the world watching in awe. Sounds like a dream, right? Today we'll dive into this alternate scenario and explore how history, technology, and even culture could have been different if the Titanic had reached its destination in grand style. Buckle up, because this journey will take us through calm waters and some unexpected waves. Let's picture the exact moment everything changes. It's the night of April 14th, 1912, and the Titanic sails through the North Atlantic. This time, the lookout with binoculars in hand, which for once aren't locked away in a cabinet, spots the iceberg in time. Maybe a timely breeze clears the fog, or the sky is crystal clear. Captain Edward Smith, calm and experienced, gives the order. The helm turns smoothly, and the ship dodges danger with the grace of a dancer. On April 17th, it docks in New York, greeted by a euphoric crowd waving flags and headlines proclaiming the voyage's success. From there, the world starts spinning in a new direction, and I'm excited to see how this story unfolds. First, consider the immediate impact. Without sinking, the Titanic isn't a lesson in humility, but a trophy of human ingenuity. The White Star Line becomes synonymous with invincibility, and its other ships, like the Olympic and Britannic, gain legendary status. Competition between shipping companies explodes White Star's rival. Cunard might accelerate construction of the Lusitania, or create something even grander. Ocean travel will become the pinnacle of luxury and safety, delaying the rise of airplanes as mass transit. Imagine a world where crossing the ocean on a floating palace is the norm, decks packed with passengers dancing under crystal chandeliers. I can already hear the orchestra playing as the ship glides through the waves. And the passengers? In reality, the sinking claimed over 1,500 lives. But here, everyone arrives safe and sound. John Jacob Astor Ford, the American multimillionaire, disembarks in New York with his wife, ready to continue his investments. Maybe he builds even taller skyscrapers or funds inventions that transform industries. Other survivors, like engineer Thomas Andrews, the mastermind behind the Titanic, could use this victory to design even more revolutionary ships. Even the third-class immigrants, full of hope, would reach America to plant roots, perhaps founding businesses or communities that reshape cities like New York or Boston. Every saved life would be a pebble tossed into history's pond, creating ripples beyond our imagination. Now, let's talk maritime safety. Without the tragedy, reforms like more lifeboats, constant radio communication, and ice patrols might be delayed. Ships will keep sailing with near-blind confidence, and I wonder if that could pave the way for an even greater disaster later. On the other hand, the Titanic's success might inspire advancements on its own. Maybe White Star installs early radar or warning systems years ahead of schedule, just to maintain its unbeatable reputation. Picture this: ships crossing the Atlantic like floating fortresses, with technology that makes the Titanic seem like a toy. The seas would never have been so conquered. Culture would also take a fascinating turn. Without the sinking, the Titanic wouldn't be a cautionary tale, but one of triumph. Hollywood would never make that 1997 film Goodbye, Jack and Rose, but in exchange, the ship would star in ads and novels. Imagine vintage magazines with vibrant photos of the Titanic, or writers like F. Scott Fitzgerald describing onboard parties in their books. Edwardian fashion, with its extravagant hats and impeccable suits, might become a global symbol, immortalized by the ship's glamour. Kids would play with Titanic miniatures, dreaming of boarding the real thing. I can almost see opening a 1913 newspaper and finding ads for the King of the Seas on every page. World War I, starting in 1914, would feel the impact too. The intact, majestic Titanic could be requisitioned as a warship. Maybe it transports Allied troops across the Atlantic, its luxury cabins swapped for soldier bunks. Or perhaps it becomes a floating hospital, doctors rushing through halls once filled with ballroom dances. It might evade German U-boats, proving its resilience, or ironically meet a different fate sunk by a torpedo. Either way, its presence would change wartime logistics, perhaps even speeding up Allied victory with faster supply deliveries. And if you're enjoying this wild thought experiment with me, hit like to help me keep imagining these incredible scenarios. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. Naval technology would leap even further. With the Titanic as proof of success, engineers would have a floating lab to test ideas. Oil-powered engines might replace coal sooner, making ships faster and more efficient. Or perhaps double-hull designs, inspired by the unsinkable legend, would emerge. What if the Titanic led to bolder experiments? Imagine maritime platforms or even floating cities in the 1920s, fueled by the confidence the ship brought. I see ports crowded with steel monsters, each more impressive than the last, as the world bets everything on the seas. The economy would join the dance. Without the financial blow to sinking, White Star could invest heavily in new projects, keeping the UK as a naval leader. Transatlantic trade would boom, with goods crossing the ocean in record time. Maybe even the US, inspired by the Titanic's success, would accelerate its own shipbuilding, rivaling Europe. And during the Roaring '20s, the ship could become a jazz age icon, hosting legendary parties with bands playing till dawn. I can picture the deck packed with dancers, saxophones echoing over the waves. What a scene! Now for the most unexpected twist. What if, in 1929, as the Great Depression shakes the world, the Titanic becomes a symbol of hope? White Star, seeing the crisis, repurposes the ship as a humanitarian bridge. Imagine the Titanic once a playground for the rich, now loaded with supplies, clothes, and medicine, sailing between continents to ease suffering. Ports would welcome it with applause, and newspapers would publish photos of the savior of the seas, weathering the economic storm. It'd be an incredible turn, from luxury icon to humanity's hero, proving even the greatest can stoop to help. That thought gives me chills. Who knew the Titanic could have such a noble fate? In the end, the Titanic could retire in glory. By the 1950s, outdated by newer ships, it had become a floating museum. Docked in New York or Liverpool, its pristine halls would draw crowds, with guides recounting the tale of the ship that defied fate. Humanity would gaze at the oceans with greater boldness, building even more advanced liners, inspired by the pioneer that never sank. Would the world be more connected, more ambitious, or just more enchanted by the sea? And you, how do you think the Titanic would have changed the 20th century had it reached port in 1912? Drop your ideas below, because I really want to know. This journey's been epic, and I'm eager to explore more crazy scenarios like this. Until next time, keep imagining.